A major point which is likely to be addressed by the finance minister is the reduction in the tax rates. The reduction is expected to come both for individuals as well as the corporate taxpayers. As the finance minister had in 2015 come out with his plan of reduction of the corporate tax rates from the 30% to 25%, so I would expect that there would be some headway in the reduction, and I would not be surprised if the tax rate comes down from 30 to 28 this year. The government has been pushing the digital payments so that the cash transactions in the economy are reduced. I would expect that there would be some incentives for digital payments, while on the other hand, the cash transactions are likely to be viewed with a punitive angle. We are already getting vibes that banking cash transaction tax might be reinstated. So while the banking cash transaction tax might reduce the cash transactions to a certain extent, one would wonder what merits the banking cash transaction tax has at this point in time. The government has already been touting that it has a massive trove of information which it has collected over the years. And also they are already coming up with a project Insight, which will even delve into your social media accounts to understand as to gather what your actual income is. So in the back of all this technology which the government has been using for all this while, so whether it should come out with a banking cash transaction tax, that remains an open question. So banking cash transaction tax is only likely to make people hoard even more cash and not, let's say, deposit it in the bank account also, so that it leaves no trail. So it might have a backfire effect going forward. The government came out with the place of effective management provisions last year. The board notified the rules late last year, on which they had invited the comments. The rules as they are framed at the moment might end up in a lot of litigation because the rules are subjective and open to interpretation. Now one wonders what is the objective that the government is trying to achieve by adding all this uncertainty at this point in time. Would it be a better option to enact CFC rules and do away with the POEM concept? So already there are rumors that the entire POEM concept in the act might be junked and the old position might be reinstated. One would hope that this would follow through. A CFC regime will overall be much better, since it will not involve a foreign company being treated like an Indian company. Only the passive income which has not been shifted to India will be subject to tax in the hands of the individual shareholders. Now coming to GAR. GAR was enacted in 2009 as part of the DTC. The DTC never came into picture. After that, it was enacted as part of the legislation in 2012, and it has been deferred continuously for the past 4 years. But now from April 2017, it is expected to come into force. But GAR has its own challenges in India. Now Mauritius, Cyprus and the Singapore Treaty were renegotiated earlier this year. All these treaties have a limitation of benefits clause. Now whether GAR will continue to override these treaties or will not override these treaties is not clear. GAR in its present form will also involve a retroactive operation which is undesirable. You will have investments which have been made prior to 1st of April 2017, which might be disposed of by the investors after 1st of April. Even in such situations, GAR will come into play, which is not desirable at all. So the government would do well to make the application of GAR prospective. Now coming to indirect transfer of assets. The board came out with a circular earlier in December where they have sought to clarify the law as it stands. The circular is absolutely valid, it is explaining the law perfectly, but probably the law has been drafted in a way which will cause a lot of uncertainty with the investments that the FPIs have made. Now the law will have unintended consequences whereby an FPI investing in India will be subject to triple taxation. First, the fund will be subject to tax in India. The individual investor who has more than 5% holding will also be subject to tax in India. He will also be taxable in his home country, leading to triple taxation. And this tax which he pays in India might not be available as a credit in his home country. So, I doubt whether this situation was envisaged when the law was drafted. And these are the unintended consequences which are coming through. Representations have already been filed with the government for its remedial measures. So the government should ideally exempt the FPIs from such taxes, or in the alternate, they can probably raise the limit of holding from the present 5% to 25%. That would be overall more advisable.